Namaskar everyone, this is Gyanshi Jain and let's get started with the revision of tissue chapter. So the topic is meristematic tissue. Let's get started. So look at this beautiful money plant here. This plant is growing month by month at a fast speed. Plants generally grow where a meristematic tissue is present. These rapidly dividing tissue or growth tissue. They generally present at the tips of the stem and the roots. Some other characteristics of meristematic tissues are the meristematic cells are living, cubical or tangled. Each cell has a large nucleus. Cells are closely packed with no intercellular space and depending on the region where they are present. Meristematic tissues are classified as follows: apical, intercalary or lateral. Now, apical meristem. These tissues are found in the root tips and the stem tips. They increase the length of the plant and depend for the primary growth. So that is, the growth and the length of a plant happens because of apical meristem. Now, the intercalary tissue or the intercalary meristem. They are found between the mature tissues. They occur at the base of the leaves or at the internodes. They have to increase the length of the internodes. They occur in the grasses and regenerate the parts removed by the grazing herbivores. Now lateral meristem or cambium meristem. Such tissues are present at the radial portion of the stem or root. They therefore depend for the secondary growth or growth in the thickness of a plant occurs because for the lateral meristem tissues. Now let's classify the meristematic tissue on the following types. So the types are on the basis of location and the function. So first is apical meristem. They are for the tips of the stems and the root, and the function is growth, which increases the length at the tips. Now intercalary meristem. They are found between the tip and the base of stem and leaves. Now the function is that growth increased between the nodes. Now the last is lateral meristem, and they are present at the sides of stems and the roots, but the function is that growth they increase the diameter. Now let's get started with the protective tissue. Epidermis and cork cells in plants. They are usually present at outermost layer of the plant parts and protect the internal tissues present in them. So, epidermis and cork are called protective tissue in the plants. Now let's get started with epidermis. Epidermis is the outermost protective layer of a plant organs. It is a single layer in thickness. You can see its figure. Now let's get started with its function. In the aerial plants of the parts of the plants, the outer wall of the epidermis has a waxy covering of a cutin which protects the plant from the water loss and mechanical injury. Now, in the grasses and the cereals, the outer wall of an epidermis has a deposition of silica which makes the plant part stiff and the abrasive which prevent grazing. Root epidermis helps in absorption of water due to the presence of root hairs. The epidermis of a leaves and green stem contain minute pores called stomata, and it helps in exchange of gases. You can see this figure too. Now, glandular hairs of epidermis protect plants from herbivorous animals. So these are the functions. Now let's get started with the cork. You can see its figure. When the roots and the stems grow older, with the time their outermost tissue is transformed into a specialized protective tissue called cork. Cork cells are dead and are without intercellular spaces. The walls of a cork cells are thickened by the deposition of a suberin. So this is about the cork. Let's discuss about its functions. Cork protects the internal tissues and prevents water loss. Second function, it provides insulation against heat and cold. Lented cells present in the cork provide aeration to the inner tissues. Now let's discuss something more extra information, commercial importance of cork. Cork is used for insulation and as shock absorber in the linoleum and the sports coat. The cells of protective tissue may be specialized in the various ways. For example, the cell walls of onion shells become thick and waterproof by the deposition of wax-like substances called suberin. And